Oh, hi. I mean, nobody's here live yet, but for those of you watching this later, hi. Hey, BookTube, it's Sylvia. Please leave me a emoji. God, why do I always forget? An emoji, a heart, or a smiley face down below to let me know that you are here, because that fuels me and that makes all of this worth it. I really need those comments to kind of keep me going. As I usually say in my videos, I'm not really here for subscribers. I'm not here for views. I'm here to talk to people, and this is my form of socialization and community. So that's why I like to know who's here, and I also like to know like who's supporting me. I know that a lot of us are lurkers, and I know that it's hard to make comments. So please leave me a heart, smiley face, or emoji down below to let me know that you were here. Today, we are going to talk about 4 books I recently read. We're going to go through all my questions. One of them is a DNF, and 3 of them aren't. So that should be fun. And then if you have any questions for me or anything else you want me to talk about, you'll let me know. Hi to the one person that's here so far. We'll see. I know it's a Sunday and it's Father's Day. Oh, we might not get a lot of people in here today. But I need to talk about these books. So, 2 people. So that's nice. First, we're going to start with Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers. This is my first Courtney Summers read. Hey, Kim. Howdy. How you doing? This is the first book. Hey, Leah. Is it Leah? Is that how you pronounce it? I'm going to talk about Courtney Summers. So this is the first book. She's the author of Sadie. That's what she's, I would say, most known for. So I read Cracked Up to Be. I gave it 4 stars, but I've kind of come to the conclusion that my ratings are more for me than for you guys. So, I really want folks to listen to the review more than the star rating. So, content warnings. There's an animal death, rape, lots of girl hate, and one of the content warnings is a spoiler. So, I don't know if I want to share that or not, but it is hidden under like a spoiler tag in my Goodreads review. What kind of video game are you playing, Kim? Okay, so representation for Cracked Up to Be. Who does it represent, and what did I think of the rep? It really doesn't focus on identity, which, like, the negative part of that is that, I'm always looking for identity, validation, representation. However, fortunately, while there was no focus on representation, there was also no descriptions either. So however you want to imagine the characters, you really can, because it wasn't really set up, and it was kind of done in a way that's not jarring. So sometimes when I read books by, hold on, let me think. Sometimes when I read books in which like all the characters are white, it's extremely jarring, and it just didn't feel jarring here. So for reader health, did it perpetuate mentally healthy ideals, including being socially just? There were some comments in the very beginning of the book that were just horrible, and they were not challenged at all. I wish I like highlighted them in my Kindle. Was I reading it on Kindle? Yeah, I was reading the ebook and the audiobook at the same time. But I just didn't have a chance because I always prioritize audio. But there were some comments that the character made that were just awful. One of them, and like trigger warning for this whole video, one of them was like she was looking at someone and she was like, if I was her, I'd kill myself. And I understand that a lot of these negative comments were made to establish the protagonist because she is very, I don't want to say unlikable, but she has a personality. There are specific things that the author did to develop her. And while I understand that, I needed those things to be challenged. It wasn't healthy. Let me think of what else. I think the author did a great job of representing teenagers. They were just so believable. They were both witty and silly. Like the way they made decisions, the way they problem solved was very adolescent, if I can use adolescent as an adjective. But at the same time, they had all the strengths that teenagers have. They were fantastic little people. What book am I talking about? I'm talking about Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers. That's what I'm going to be reviewing right now. So for my education question, what else does this work teach the reader? Did it teach me anything I didn't already know? Did it make me think at length about any topic? And I'm going to say like a solid no for that, but the narrative inspired a lot of self-reflection. I definitely took time to sit back and think about like, was it like, well, what would I do in those situations, or what the characters were doing in those situations? There was definitely thinking going on. It wasn't just pure entertainment, but I didn't really learn anything. No problem, Maria. Thank you for coming. Okay, so the next question is writing and storytelling. What was the writing style like in terms of grammar or flow, accessibility, and storytelling? This is where it blew me away. I couldn't put it down. I looked forward to reading it. It had just the right amount of, like, not predictable, but just, it was both comfortable and unique. You know, she had the tropes, but she played with them. It was just entertaining enough. It was just something I looked forward to. It didn't progress based on any formula. I was almost like, there was just such a good narrative progression. I know good is like a lazy review word, so let me try to explain that differently. I didn't feel like I was sitting around predicting it, and I did feel entertained. It felt very natural. Yeah. And I didn't lose interest at all. What did I think of the characters? I thought that the character work was pretty stellar. Again, I really loved the way the author crafted teenagers, but especially the characterization of the protagonist X, Chris. I just really loved the layers and how he was established as a solid character in the beginning, and I loved the decisions he made. There was just something so human, so authentic about him as a character, and really about all of the characters. He's a character that I'm going to be thinking about for a while. What I really didn't like is the girl hate. Like, it wasn't your typical girl hate. I don't really want to spoil anything, but it didn't do anything for me. I wasn't wild about it. For the plot, was the writing of the plot clever? The plot wasn't clever because it's more contemporary than like entertaining, but some of the ways that the author dismantled tropes was pretty impressive. I liked it. Oh, my little kittens are in the living room. Oh, it's their second day allowed in the living room, so they kind of have been going back and forth between the living room and the bedroom all day, and now they're here. Maybe you'll get to see them. My last question for Cracked Up to Be is entertainment/pleasure. Was it able to keep my attention? Was it able to entertain me? Did I enjoy reading it? Was I amused? Absolutely. This was definitely the shining star, along with the narrative style, the characterization. The entertainment was definitely there. This author, I think this is a much later work. While I have the Goodreads up, I can tell you this was published in 2008. So I can only imagine the growth. So I'm even more excited to read Sadie now. Even though like I was pretty excited to read Sadie. So let me check in with the chat. Kim says, I think that's one of Courtney Summers' strengths as an author, the ability to encourage self-reflection. I found myself doing that when I read Cracked Up to Be, and this is not a test. Fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that. I'll read it. This is not a test I haven't heard of much, but I really like to read when I start to get into an author. I like to read their works in publication order. But let me know if you guys think that's silly, or if I should do that, or if I should go straight to Sadie. I own Sadie, so I guess we'll kind of see. But let me know if I should start reading This Is Not a Test. Hold on a second. Ross, sweetheart, you need to get off of the coffee table, my love. How do I distract him? I should have brought like a laser or something. Oh, he's getting off on his own. Look at you, good boy. Let me know if you want a treat, okay? You're a sweetheart. Okay. Hi, Lady of the Peach. I wasn't able to catch your message. Okay. So that was Cracked Up to Be. So we got 3 books left to talk about. While my babies distract me. They're so cute. So then I tried to read. No. Well, I guess I'll skip around. I did try to read The Foxhole Court, right? Everybody talks about The Foxhole Court. It's supposed to be this, like, I don't want to be incorrect, but oh my God, sorry, my computer keeps showing some updates. The impression I have of it is that it was like an indie published novel. I don't know if that's true. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, I'm sorry. My sons all of a sudden, after an entire day of ignoring me, are super interested in what I'm doing. That's nice. So you're only interested when I'm busy, right? I had all day to play with you. Here you go, Baba. Oh, sorry. I'm very, very intense about my kittens. They've been with me for a couple of weeks, and literally any attention they give me, like, rocks my world. Oh, so he licked the treat from my hand and then walked away. That's cool. You do that. I'm going to throw these treats over there. If you want them, you can get them. So I'm sorry if I'm a little distracted by them, but they are my whole world, my children, my little angels, and literally anytime they look at me adds days to my life. Hi, Taylor. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So, Foxhole Court. I read the first 2 chapters. There was a lot of info dumping, and I can see, well, I think I can see why some people like this novel or this series. The characters are unique. The sport is interesting. There's like a lot of drama in the backstory of the protagonist. So I can kind of see the appeal. Sweetheart, do you want another treat? Why am I spoiling you? But the thing that didn't work out for me with Foxhole Court, I'm sorry, Ra's just like not fast enough. His brother's gonna get the damn treat before him. Why don't you guys finish your effing lunch? Anyway, what doesn't work for me with the Foxhole Court is I was bored. I wasn't interested. Reading a novel with an entire cast of men is not my preference. I mean, I feel like that's the nicest way to say it. So, yeah, I DNF'd it. So that's the only DNF for this video. And the next 2 books were fantastic. Okay, so I need to talk about chemistry. Chemistry is definitely going to be one of my favorite books of all time. Definitely one of my favorite reads of this year. So I have a lot to say about it. I didn't post a Goodreads review yet. Hey, sweetheart. Hold on. Ooh, say hi to the nice people. This is Ra. Ra hates his mother. Hi. Hi, Papa. Oh, hi. Little guy. Oh, look at you. You're famous now. Yeah, they hate me, but it's fine. It's fine. I can take it. I can take your hatred, puppies. There you go. Okay. Kim Henderson says, I generally skip around with the author like Courtney Summers, whose books I don't intertwine, but authors like Sandhya Menon, I try to read in order. That makes sense. Though the story order doesn't really matter that much. And then Kim said, This Is Not a Test is also a zombie novel. Surprise. So it's wildly different from the rest of Summer's work. Fantastic. Oh, thank you. Yes, my child is beautiful. He breaks my heart every single day. Every single day. And so does this one right here. But anyway, chemistry. Let me try to pronounce. So the author's name is, I want to say Weike Wang. I don't know why I want to pronounce her first name like it's German. Oh, hold on. You might be able to see my other little baby. Hi, Bubba. Oh, nope. Nope, that didn't work out. That did not work out. And I think I scared him. No, he's fine. Bast is 1000% a Gryffindor, but I don't know what Ra is yet. I haven't decided. Right now, he's just the bane of my existence is all he is. Okay, so chemistry. Whew. I will not get distracted by this little felines. Okay. So my first question that I ask myself whenever I read a book is, is content warnings? I don't think there are any content. There's cheating, but it's not with the protagonist. The cheating happens with like side characters. There's a lot of talk about domestic violence, physical violence. Wait, I think I wrote down the trigger warnings. Yes, normalized, unchallenged violence, and that's it. That's all I could remember. So I gave chemistry 5 stars. Representation. Who does it represent, and what did I think of the rep? So, the protagonist is Chinese. Was she born in China or America? I don't remember. But there's so she talks a lot about what it's like to be Chinese in America, what it's like to, she talks about Chinese culture, Chinese traditions, and it's so fantastic. There was one moment where she talked about how like modern Chinese culture is like this, traditional Chinese culture is like this. And then she even made a statement like, these are the cultural traditions my family chooses to follow. Because, like, as we all know, well, those of us who belong to cultures, which I feel like has to be almost everyone, I don't know. But like, you don't all follow the exact same cultural norms. Like, I come from a very, very small country in Europe. Like, Poland is smaller than Texas, you know? And I don't, like, if you compare me to like the next Polish person, you know, we're not going to abide by the same exact cultural norms, you know? Just like somebody from Brooklyn and somebody from Queens is different. But anyway, before I go on that tangent, I just loved the way she talked about culture. I loved learning about different cultural norms. I love learning about China and Chinese folks. And there's been some commentary lately from folks of color on Twitter about how like authors don't owe us information about culture or race. And I completely agree with that 1000%. When I do talk about how I like to learn about cultures and norms and all that, it's just because those are my interests. I like to learn about others. I like to learn not just personally, but also professionally, since I'm a therapist. So while the author didn't owe me anything, she blessed me. She honored me with this information. Now, the best and my favorite part about it, and it's going to come from a selfish place because it is what it is, she describes what it's like to be bicultural so perfectly. And I always like struggle to talk about being bicultural because I am from Poland. I'm a Polish immigrant. So I'm so Polish, and then I grew up in New York. So I understand the issues of being bicultural, though I'm not a person of color, so it is a little bit different. But then I am an immigrant, which she talks about also. And every single thing she said about being bicultural just rocked my world. It was so good. It made me feel understood. The way she talked about language, like there's a moment where she, oh man, I'm just gonna like end up telling you the entire book in detail. I just loved it so much, so please just bear with me. The way she talked about the use of language, how like she used the rules of grammar for one language with the other, and she does that, like she uses the Chinese rules of grammar when she speaks English. I actually do the opposite. I use the American rules of grammar when I speak Polish. But then there are like a lot of Polish words that I wish I could say in English conversations. But anyway, I just loved it so much. Whew. Was anything else represented? I don't think so. So I guess we have to talk about the domestic violence. So she talks about her parents, and I'm a domestic violence specialist at this point. I work a lot with domestic violence on the daily. So like for me, I understand if not domestic violence, then definitely high conflict between her parents. And like the little bits of child abuse that were in there. But I don't know if it was clear for the reader. And then at the other hand, like I don't know if it was supposed to be clear for the reader. So I'm still processing my thoughts on that, but the way that she, you know what? Did I answer my representation question? Yes. Let's move on from representation. Reader health, right? That's my next question that I like to ask. Oh, hold on. I just want to see. So for reader health, I want to ask, did it perpetuate mentally healthy ideals, including being socially just? So The thing I think, and I guess this ties in with the representation, I feel like some readers might not understand that though her parents were terrible to each other, that doesn't mean like that's a norm in her culture. And I was kind of worried about like some stupid white people like reading it and being like, oh, I guess this is how it goes down with Chinese people, but that's not the case. But then again, like, should I care about what somebody who's not like really paying attention to the message of the book thinks? Like, am I overthinking it? And I might be. However, the protagonist uses violence and violent like threats and passive aggressive behavior toward her partner throughout, and that's never challenged in the book. And while I understand why that's there, it's just so incredibly harmful. I, I I really feel like that's like the only flaw of the novel, I think. That the author just let that happen. You know, the protagonist is always like threatening to hit him, or I think she did hit him once or twice. I think she slapped him once. It's not okay. Just because she's a woman doesn't make it okay. And I don't know if there was room for the author to analyze it. And I'll get into that a little bit more, but I think it was like the only weakness of the novel. I think that's all I have to say about reader health. Let me just think. This novel was just, there was just so much in it. I guess one more thing for reader health is that the protagonist went to therapy. Yeah, she went to therapy, which goes against her cultural norms and kind of goes against what she believes as a person. And she was super cute about, and I mean, I hate to say that, but like the way she talked about therapy, because I'm a therapist, I viewed it a little bit differently. And I just enjoyed her like mild defiance, but dedication to herself. So I guess that was positive too. For my education question, what else does this work teach the reader? Did it teach me anything I didn't already know? Did it make me think at length about any topic? So, like I already said, I learned some cultural things. The thing about this novel that I just loved so much, and again, I give it 5 stars, and I just cannot. I'm like radiating joy because I loved it so much. Every statement this author wrote, every sentence, every paragraph was mind blowing. It was so, while it was like accessibly contemporary, and it's a story about a woman like trying to figure her shit out to see if she's ready to get married or not. Like, it's so basic as a plot, but it rocked my world. I wish I could teach an entire class just like analyzing every sentence of this novel. It was both accessible and extremely literary, and she just blew me away. And I'm the kind of person that like, I like metaphors, I like reading deeply into things. So for her to just kind of like bam bam bam, every single sentence was so intense and thought-provoking and just fantastic. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it so much. So while like it did teach me some things, it made me think. It was just a super fun time. So that's a segue into my next question for writing and storytelling. What was the writing style like in terms of grammar, flow, accessibility, and storytelling? Again, it was very accessible. So it's written very matter of fact because our protagonist is matter of fact. And it's funny because it's like, it's almost robotic, but because every sentence is so deep, it's like profound while being simple. It's like literally, oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's like literally the best writing style I've ever seen in my life. And I just love it so much. And I hope everybody reads it. I think I have what? Okay. 3 more questions. What were the characters like? What did I think of them? I loved the protagonist. The protagonist's partner was fantastic. Just such an enjoyable character that I actually related to in some ways. I'm still processing the writing of him. And the dog, oh, the dog was so cute. And then the best friend and everything that goes on with her. And then the dynamics between the protagonist and her parents, especially with her and her mother, were so well crafted. And there's just like a part, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's a part at the end where she's still thinking about her relationship with her mother and what she thinks about her mother, and like how much are parents to blame for everything they did wrong to us, and how much like are we over it because we just are so full of love for our parents. Like not all of us, obviously. Some parents do some fucked up shit and we don't have to forgive them. But in a situation where a child still loves their parents, and their parents, I guess I think her mom loves her, I think. It was just really powerful, and I understood it, and it had depth, and it was, I hate to say good because I feel like that's a lazy review word. um I enjoyed it, I valued it, I was impressed by it. I really love this book. So, was the writing of the plot clever? Not really. There's barely any plot. It's just, does she want to get married or not? What's her deal? Um, she takes us through like the thinking of all of that. And for entertainment and pleasure, was it able to keep my attention? Able to entertain me? Did I enjoy reading it? Was I amused? Absolutely. I just loved I mean, I think I've made it pretty clear today that I absolutely devoured it. It was fantastic. Okay. So everybody needs to read Chemistry by Veka Wang, which I hope I'm pronouncing right. Whew. So now that we went through all of that, woosah. That was fantastic. You guys can feel free to tell me like what books blew you away so far this year. I would love to hear that, and please let me know if you read Chemistry. I'm pretty sure that I heard about Chemistry from Joss over at Squibbles Reads and Madeline from Novel Inc. I think there was maybe one more person I know who read it. So I definitely give them credit for putting that book on my radar. Really, Maria asks, have you read The Exact Opposite of Okay? I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on it. I have not, so let me pull up Goodreads and see The Exact Opposite of Okay. Let's see if it's on my radar. No, it's not. I don't have it on my to-read list, but there you go. Thanks to you, it's now there. So I will read it eventually. Thank you very much for that. Let me know what you think of it and why you want me to read it. Okay, so the last book I'm going to talk about today, I just finished like an hour ago, and it's Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology by Leah Remini. I've wanted to read this book for a while. I've wanted to learn about Scientology for a while because, like, while people make fun of Scientology a lot, I really only had glimpses of an idea of what goes on within Scientology, some of which the actress did confirm, and some of which I was like, oh, that's something else. Like, so let's go through my questions. My first question, as always, is who does it represent? What did I think of the representation? So, does it represent anyone? I'm trying to think. So, this isn't really like a representation thing, but Leah Remini grew up in Bensonhurst, which is not far away from where I grew up in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. So, it was like really delightful to hear. Hi, sweet boy. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, they're hunting for each other. That's cute. I'm gonna turn the AC on. I hope you guys don't mind. Let me know if you can't hear me anymore. So Leah Remini grew up in Bensonhurst, and I love her deep Brooklyn accent. I love that there was a part in it where she befriends Jennifer Lopez. They're like really close friends, and she made a comment of how like if she and Jennifer Lopez were in New York and they met, like Brooklyn and Bronx are so vastly different. But like because they met together in LA, it was like, well, Brooklyn and Bronx are close enough, like let's be buddies. So I thought that was really cute as a New Yorker myself. Let me just read the chat. Really, Maria says it's great feminist fic and also funny. Oh, that sounds right up my alley. Hey, Whitney. And then Really Maria says the main character gets caught in a compromising position with a politician's son, so it deals with slut shaming head on and also has a cute grandmother. Oh my God, that sounds fantastic. You're really hyping me up for that book. Okay, so for Troublemaker, I mean, does it represent Scientologists? Like that's a loaded question. I'm just gonna kind of move past it. I myself am not a Scientologist. Like I said, I barely knew anything about Scientology. So let's go to reader health. Did it perpetuate mentally healthy ideals, including being socially just? Leah Remini, like you can tell that she has processed her life, processed her decisions. She actually starts off the book, which I thought was really cute. She starts off the book by like naming everything she did wrong that like she considers made her a bad person. Um, and that really like set the tone. She's very honest. Um, I don't know about honest. Let me think. I don't know how much I should like share my opinion of her because I feel like that's gonna go to like a mean, like I don't want to judge the person. I want to. All right, I'm gonna think about that when we get to the character question. Um, so for reader health, she does talk about how her father was verbally abusive, um, and I feel like she talks about it in a way like she understands it now. I thought those chapters were very engaging. They're gonna stick with me, but I guess that's a content warning for child abuse and verbal abuse. There's definitely a lot of cheating also. All right, I think that's all I have to say about reader health. Like she really tries her best not to say anything really terrible. I don't remember hearing anything in this novel that I was like, "Oh damn, like you're I'm not with you on that." Oh my god. This one just like crawled into a bag of stuff. Oh my god, he's so cute. I can't. Okay. Um, education. What else does this work teach the reader? Did it teach me anything I didn't already know? Did it make me think at length about any topics? So yeah, Leah Remini wrote this memoir about her experiences with Scientology, which was very interesting because Scientology is so popular in Hollywood and LA, that I thought that that's how she got into it, but she actually was, I don't know, converted or entered into Scientology when she was a child in New York by her mother. So it's kind of funny that like she ended up all the way over there. Anyway, um, so I learned a lot about Scientology. I learned she doesn't really like get into the religion and how it works. Like she gets into the behind the scenes more than the religion itself. And I think that I don't know if she made that choice on purpose or not, but I thought that was very smart because there's so much about this. I don't even know if I can call it a religion. I don't. It seems like a very harmful self help program. But there's so much about it that I could see why people get into it. She made a very she painted a very vivid picture of why someone would be interested in Scientology because there were some things that she said that I was like, "Oh my god, like thank God nobody tried to tell me about this because like that sounded cool, like that one thing that she said." So, I learned a lot. I thought a lot. Outside of Scientology, I don't know if I did, but if I think of anything else, I'll put it in my Goodreads review. So, what is my next question? It is writing and storytelling. So, what was the writing style like in terms of grammar, flow, accessibility, and storytelling? I really enjoyed it. You know what? Let me group this together with my entertainment question. So, what was it able to keep my attention, entertain me? Did I enjoy reading it? Was I amused? So, I really enjoyed reading this novel. There were a couple of moments where I like wouldn't listen as intently, but not as many as in other books. I definitely didn't feel bored at any point. There were some things that I just didn't want to know in as much detail. Like there's one experience where she's in Florida as a child that I just kind of felt like she was saying the same things over and over, and if I was her editor, I would have like shortened that chapter. um it was fine. I had a lot of fun reading it. It gave me exactly what I wanted. I was in the perfect mood for it, but also she is fun. She's funny. She's not so much quirky, but like she seems like extroverted. So hearing about her life feels like she feels like she's being honest. Um So I guess now I can ask my question, like, she's not a character, she's a human being. And I do have an opinion about her from reading it. She seems like she's really into fame. And that's fine. That's fine. That if fame is what you want to be famous, you want to have the attention, you are an actress, you like the drama, like that's fine. Um, but it also made me wonder, like, is she sincere? Because the book really felt, it felt so honest and insightful. Um, but then I was questioning, there was just something there that I felt like, not that she was not being sincere, but something in that vein, like an opportunist kind of thing. I'm not trying to judge her too much, but I just wanted to mention that. I thought it might be interesting to mention, but I don't know if it's fair to judge her. I'm still kind of processing that. Do I have any other questions? I mean, there was no plot really, but the way that she weaved together the story and the story, like the history, worked well for me. She definitely focused on King of Queens. I felt like the Saved by the Bell part was very short. Um, it like if you didn't know she was on the Saved by the Bell, I feel like you could have easily misinterpreted what she was saying in the book, that like she wasn't on it, but she was. That's how I know her, from Saved by the Bell. So that's it. I gave it a 3.9. So I rounded it up to 4 on Goodreads. I actually think I'm just gonna stop being an asshole and just make it a 4. But ratings are for me. They're not really for you. The rating should, I mean, my review should be more impactful than the rating. But I'm very happy I read this. I was so in the perfect mood for it. And I think I'm actually like in the mood for celebrity memoirs right now. Instead of like not generic, but like nonfiction in general. So that's what we're doing now. I'm going to be reading Wishful Drinking by Carrie Fisher. I actually just started it and it's fantastic. And then I think I'm going to be reading another one. Where Am I Now? By the girl from Matilda. By the grown woman who used to be in Matilda. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my wrap-ups. Let me just go through the chat. Hatham, am I pronouncing that right? Hatham saying says, how do you choose your monthly wrap-up? How do you choose your monthly wrap-up? What do you mean by that? I think you need to explain that a little bit more, because I don't do monthly wrap-ups. I usually just wrap books up in batches, or right now what I'm doing, because I really have no motivation or energy to edit, I'm going to be kind of doing these live shows for a while, which I hope you guys enjoy. Because this is kind of working out for me. So I read 4 books, but even if I read 1 book, I was going to do a live, I don't even want to call it a live show, but like a live video, a live wrap up. And the reason for that is I'm trying to have a life again. I became a really, I hate the term workaholic. I feel like that's problematic, but like I worked really hard from September until now, and I miss reading and booktubing, and I miss myself. I don't want I've never ever been somebody who just like worked. I didn't even know I was capable of that. I'm in a place where I'm like exploring, who the hell am I even? So I'm going to continue doing wrap-ups like this. I hope y'all don't hate them. And then Hatham Sayings asked, J.K. Rowling or Cassandra Clare? Neither, because J.K. Rowling, my favorite thing about J.K. Rowling is she created Harry Potter, so like thanks. And she's really, really good at foreshadowing, and that's impressive. But she is openly fat phobic. In her Very Good Lives like speech at some graduation or whatever, there was a fat phobic joke. There was like a weird, almost problematic gay joke. And her whole thing about like everybody in her world was, she's not great. She's not great. And then Cassandra Clare, I don't care about Cassandra Clare at all. Not to be mean. I just don't like any of her series. So between J.K. Rowling and Cassandra Clare, I'm gonna say neither. Or like Rick Riordan instead, like if he can be an option. Do any of you have any other questions for me while I'm still here? Because it'll be a while before my next live show. I mean, unless I read a lot by tomorrow, which I might, because I have a lot of books planned. Actually, while you think of any questions, let me show you or like remind you what else I'm reading other than, hold on. So Wishful Drinking I'm reading right now. I'm going to be reading Kissing Doorknobs, which is about OCD, and I read this when I was little, and it had a huge impact on me. I'm going to be reading Kindred Spirits, and then I'm going to be reading The Princess Diaries, Book 1, Fahrenheit 451, Dear Martin, and I'm going to watch the Dear White People movie, then I'm going to read this book, and then I'm going to start watching the show. That's the plan. I don't remember if there are any other books I might have out. I have a bunch of graphic novels out from the library also. Okay, so let's see. A Darker Shade of Whitney says, I was addicted to Cassandra Clare in high school. I'm sorry to hear that. Hatham Singh says, how do we skip reading slumps? Nonfiction, manga, graphic novels, audiobooks, and DNFing. Those are my tips for avoiding or getting over reading slumps. Kim Henderson says, no question from me. Just hope you've been doing okay, even with all the work you've been doing. Thank you. I'm engaged. I have kittens now. I'm all right. I'm going to be all right. I don't know. I'm okay right now. Really, Maria says, oh dear, not sure you'll like Fahrenheit 451. It's a bit strange. I'm really worried about Fahrenheit 451. I think I'm going to start it today just because I'm so curious. I hope I like it. Really, Maria says, like, has some weird comments. Okay. We'll look into that. So thank you so much for coming to join me. Please leave me a smiley face emoji or a heart down below to let me know that you were here, and come talk to me on Twitter.